All right, let's just start.
Yeah,
Good
go ahead.
afternoon. Welcome to the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. It is Friday, March 22nd, and we are at our
20,
last week of
26,
celebrating 26,
26.
26. Um, Black Women's History Month. So, welcome to the Business Zone. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I have no control over what happens with the internet. None at all. So, Gilbert, are you there?
Yes, yes,
Hello. Can
ma'am.
you hear
Yes,
me?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. It seems as if there's a little delay on your audio. Can you hear me? Can you hear me,
Yeah,
Crystal?
I can hear
Okay.
you. I can hear you.
Okay,
I can
so
hear you.
yes, we want to welcome our listeners or regular listeners to the show. Today we're going to have a great show. Really looking forward to this. We got three phenomenal women who's going to be on this program today, so we can't wait to talk to them, get their stories and their accomplishments, and share it with our audience. So this week, Crystal, we had a great workshop, certifications, how to become certified with the utilities. That was an awesome production you put on.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Recycle Black Dollars did their thing in order to honor. We It was sponsored by Southern California Edison, and you did an amazing job. Everybody, I got amazing feedback from the information that they received, and they're excited. And so I've been getting emails all week long. So thank you kindly for doing a great show for us and a great presentation. And it's just been a week. I was on vacation last week, so
I
this
know,
week
I
was a
know.
little challenging for me to get back into. It was a little challenging to get back into the framework of work.
Yes, 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 yes. I know that. I know. You know
but
they say. You know they say whenever you take a vacation, when you get back, you got to take a vacation from the vacation to get started, right?
Yeah, because it was so wonderful not talking to anybody, not doing any work. I forgot how to even. I didn't even want to answer the phone on Monday. I was letting things go to voicemail and calling people back later on. It was fantastic. I went to Cancun. The weather was beautiful. The resort was beautiful. The wedding was beautiful. And so it took a little bit. And I didn't even take my computer out of the bag. I took it with me,
Beautiful,
and
beautiful.
I never even put it. I never even took it out of the bag. I didn't answer any phone calls. Only thing I did was for the community briefing, I made sure that everybody, that Robin and Stephen and Greg was able to get online, and I was on my way into the ruins. I connected everybody, and then I was gone.
That's beautiful,
So it was
beautiful.
awesome. It was
See,
really
you
good.
you did the right thing. You did the right thing. See, every now and again we got to take time away from our regular grind in order to get some R and some mental health. So that's what you did.
Yes. Yeah, and it's important. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just very, very important to disconnect and unplug and make sure that you do some self care. And I think more so now, being that we're in this COVID environment, is important. So I recommend, highly recommend to everyone, disconnect and go find yourself a nice little spot where you can just vegetate.
Right, right. Even if it's in
So
your
that's what I recommend.
even if it's in your backyard, right? Just kick back, put a don't do not bother me
Yeah,
sign up.
even if it's all right. Go to your email and put in a message that you're on vacation so people will know that they can't email you and they don't expect a response. Um, Use your phone. Make sure your phone has a do not disturb, and just force yourself to step off and to disengage. That's how
uh,
important it is to your
I
mental health.
I hear that. So, Crystal, this is almost the end of Women's History Month. Today is the 26th, so we got about 4 or 5 days left. And I think we've had some amazing women on this program talking about their history, their successes, things like that. Now, you tell me, Crystal, as a phenomenal woman, what are some of the things you were able to accomplish within this month, this historical month?
Let me see. I spoke at a couple of events earlier this month. Let me see. Who did I speak? I know this morning I had a meeting with, I had a little conversation with the Black Women's Network, and we just talked about women and how COVID has affected us, and what did we get out of this, and how can we help each other. So that was one of the events that I spoke at. Of course, I had the kids a couple times this month. Well, one time this month. And I've done a lot of workshops for the Women's Business Center. And so we just talked about celebrating us, and celebrating the accomplishments of women.
Right.
And so that's kind of what has taken place. My world, my every day is all about celebration and uplifting and embracing the Black community, and
Right.
and the people in the community. And then there's some women that have just done. When we look at it from a worldview, I mean, look at what's happening. In the political world, women that are stepped up and stepped forward.
Right.
In a very masculine world that we're living in,
Mm-hmm.
with, I don't know what it is. It almost feels like men have this, I don't know if they're competing with women or they just don't like women. I don't know what's going on in America. But I think right now it's all about us sisters taking care of ourselves.
Right. Well,
That's what I
I,
think. And
I,
taking
I,
care of each other.
I don't think they're competing against women. What I think is happening is, Crystal, I think they feel dominant. They feel they should dominate the marketplace. So they operate as if they own and they run this thing. That's really what it is. And which transitions me into my next point that I was going to make, that's why, if you notice, most of my clients are women, because I prefer women clients to others,
Mm-hmm.
because several things. One, the women clients, they listen to my coaching, they listen to my advice. And two, they pay me on time. So that's a great combination right there. You my male clients tend to think that they know more than I do, even though I've been in the industry for a very long time. They don't
Mm.
listen to the advice, and then when things go south, then that's when they come running back and crying, saying, "Oh, I really need your help now." And then that's when I have to double my price on them because they don't listen.
Or is that how you handle it? You
Oh
double the
yeah,
price?
oh yeah. That's how I sue that savage beast. That's how I sue that savage beast. Now they listen because because they realize it's costing them. See, if you don't hit them in the pocketbook, they're not going to listen. So that's how you got to do it.
Well, you got a point there. Yeah, just some interesting times, and I think as women, we have to uplift each other, and to have men like yourselves that uplift us as well. And
Yeah.
so, we thank you, Gilbert, for
Well,
really embracing the female population.
not a problem. Not a problem at all. Not a problem. I learned this very early. You know, growing up with my mom, I developed certain traits which I didn't realize. And then when I went to grad school, I had a professor who kind of she drew it out of me. She started asking me some questions and said, "Why do you think you do this?" And I said, "I don't know." And then she started telling me, based on my association with my mom and how I feel, that I should protect my mom at all times. I'm going, "Oh, wow, I never thought of it that way." So ever since then, I find myself
Ah.
gravitating. Yeah. And then after, the type of feedback and response that I get from the female clients, I say, "Wow, I guess my professor was right all along." So that's what happened.
Mm.
Oh, oh, we've got.
There's a young man when we were out when we were.
Go
Hmm?
ahead, Krista. Go ahead.
when we were in Cancun, one of my nephew's friends, he actually has a business where he makes leather satchels and T-shirts and overnight carrying bags. And on the bag it says "Protect Black Women." And this is a young guy. He's in his he's 26, 27 years old, and that he kind of the same story, right? His mother, you know, he really honored his mother and uplifted his mom, and he was told to always protect Black women and protect his sibling, his sisters, and his mom. And so he created a product line that is called Protect Black Women.
I love that. That's unique. That's a unique. That's a unique niche right there. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. So one of our viewers, one of our viewers, Alfred, said, "Great information to know, Gilbert." So, so he's probably thinking that I'm going to charge him twice. He's probably thinking I'm going to charge him twice now, right? No, Alfred, I'm not going to charge you twice.
Well, not if
only if he doesn't listen. If you don't listen, Alfred, I'm going to have to charge. I'm going to have to jack you twice.
That's funny. Okay, well, Alfred, welcome to the Business Zone. Alfred, and I think Ardina is here watching us. Ardina Brooks, and you know she's one of an amazing. She follows. Comes to about a lot of our workshops. She was on our workshop on Wednesday. That's when we did the certification workshop.
Oh yes. So
Ardina's here. Hello, Ardina. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, Ardina, welcome to the Business Zone.
So, Gilbert, we want to go ahead.
I just said I was just welcoming her.
Hello.
Definitely. Do you want to go ahead? Do you want to go ahead and bring in our first guest, Crystal?
Yeah, we can move forward and bring in our next guest, or our guest, Miss Amber Nguyen. So I'm gonna plug her in. We're doing well, Ardina. And it's slow as heck today, but okay. Welcome to the show, Amber. Glad to have you.
Hi, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Hi, Amber. Welcome to the Business Zone.
Hi, Gilbert. Thank you for having.
Not a problem. We're happy to have you. We can't wait to hear your wonderful story and your contribution to the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Crystal, go ahead, Crystal.
So Amber is an entrepreneur, and Amber is an entrepreneur, and her specialty is the nonprofit world. And when I asked her what did she want to talk about, she says anything to do with nonprofits and making sure that they're running well and efficiently, which you know and I know, Gilbert, that sometimes those items don't quite sync up with most with what most nonprofits. So I think it's amazing that she's in that space. So
right.
So welcome to the show, Amber. We're so happy to have you. So tell me, how did you get to a place where the nonprofit was your focal point?
You know, it's interesting because when I graduated from LMU, I had absolutely no intentions of going into the nonprofit sector. I was an English major, and when I graduated, I couldn't find a job. And so, as it is in our community, I had a girlfriend who had a girlfriend whose sister was looking for somebody to, work in the nonprofit. And that's how I landed. It was a nonprofit called Community Construction Training Center, and we worked with people who were justice involved. My role was actually job placement, and that's how it started. Because I was an English major, the executive director at the time, Mary Scott, she was like, "I need you to write me some grants." And me being silly and not knowing, I was like, "Okay." And grants are about writing a story, and so that's what I did, and I just kind of evolved from there.
That's amazing. So when you enter,
so your special.
Go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gilbert.
I was gonna say, so
No, go ahead.
when you enter that space, Amber, you realize that it wasn't half of what you thought it was going to be. So you have to come up with systems, policies, and procedures
Yeah.
in order to, one, educate and transform your clients, and at the same time get them to adapt to those policies and incorporate it in their business, right?
Absolutely. Because of course, when we start nonprofits, it's all heart, it's all passion, it's all commitment. But a nonprofit is a business. It's just a
Yes.
business with, a philanthropic purpose. And so in order to transform your nonprofit into a revenue generating organization, you have to have the policies, you have to have the processes. And so making that connection, I think, is what's key.
Yes. And another big problem in nonprofit is the compliance piece. A
Mm.
lot of nonprofits, they don't really pay a lot of attention to compliance because they figure, hey, we can wing it. We get a grant, we just do what the grant said, and and that's not how it is, because the compliance piece is really, really the key, right?
The
And
compliance piece is huge because the purpose of a nonprofit is really to shore up a community, and the only way you can do that is if you have consistent funding. So if you
yes,
don't have the compliance piece, you are not having reoccurring revenue. So the compliance
yes,
piece is huge. And just like
yes.
any community, the nonprofit sector is small. So if
Mm-hmm.
you mismanage, because that's what
Yeah,
compliance is, if you mismanage your funds, then guess
yeah.
what? The next funder is going to know it, and the next funder. And so you're just really ruining your chances of that consistent funding.
And also your competitor, who is not mismanaging their funding as badly,
Right.
they end up getting the piece of the pie that you should be getting.
Absolutely.
See,
No,
Crystal knows this very well because she's worked with a lot of nonprofits, and she has to jump in there like a ninja trying to save them. Right, Crystal?
and that's why it's important to have
Right, exactly. But
Go
go
ahead.
ahead,
Go
Amber.
ahead. Go
Oh, I
ahead,
would say
Amber.
that's why it's important to have amazing people like you guys on their side, so you can come
Yes.
in and make
Yeah.
sure that things are set up properly.
Yes, yes, yes. That's true. Go ahead, Crystal.
And I see from your bio that you have raised over $7 million, or helped written grants that have been granted over $7 million, and your largest grant was 3.2 million. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Is this a pretty large nonprofit, or how do you go about doing that? Because finding funding for nonprofits is pretty difficult for most of them.
Well, so the largest grant that I've secured was for $3.5 million, and that was for UC Cooperative Extension. So they have a little bit of name recognition. It's the nonprofit arm for the UC system. In terms of the $7 million, I was actually a funder giving out $7 million annually to nonprofits to support cancer research.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. I like that. I
Mm.
like that. So you're familiar with all those requirements then, right? Since you've
Yeah.
been doing all of that. And see, those are the types of things we need to educate many of these other nonprofits with. Even the prominent ones, they know the rules, but they still try to skate by. So there are a lot of folks out there at this point trying to start nonprofits, and some of them are in nonprofits. And like you say, it's like a business. It is like a business, because businesses are considered, if you're from 0 to 3 years old, they consider you a startup. If you're from 3 to 7, then you are an existing business, right?
Yeah.
And then at 7 and beyond, you're emerging because you're trying to get to the next level. The same thing with nonprofits. If you're brand new, 0 to 3, they figure, okay, this is a startup nonprofit. They really don't have a track record. We don't care that much about them, right? And then the ones beyond that are the ones they take a little bit more seriously. Correct?
And just to add to that, not only that, but in a nonprofit sector, it's like, yes, you're competing against other nonprofits, and if you've been around for 20 years and you still don't have an executive director that's being paid, and you still don't have the infrastructure, and you're competing against those competitors, it's like, well, what's going on with your organization?
Yes. See, that what you said right there is key. You got to have your infrastructure in order. You have your executive director, and you got to have a board. If you don't have a board, they don't see us being serious.
Right. There's a question in the chat that I really want to clarify. So, is it a business that the large profit margins cannot profit more than 10%? No. I have that all the time. Can a nonprofit make a profit? You have to make a profit. You have to make a profit because you have to pay for salaries, you have to pay for overhead, you have to pay for operations, and you have to pay for programs. So no, it's not that you can only make 10%. You've got to make enough so that you can cover the expenses of your organization, and no one can determine what that is.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. Now,
Crystal?
Oh, go ahead.
And that's definitely a misnomer for most people when they think of nonprofits. They think of nonprofits as organizations that are only providing services, and that everything that they get has to go back out into the communities. But they don't understand, like you said earlier, it is a business, and so therefore, just like a for-profit, the monies are going out for services, but you have to also have monies that are reinvested back into the nonprofit in order to provide the programs. And nonprofits own property. Nonprofits, some of the largest nonprofits are Blue Cross Insurance and things like that. These are companies that actually make profits.
Yeah. Now, the 10% probably is referring to when a funder gives you money, they may say, I'm only going to allow you to allocate 10% to your overhead. That's why it's important that a nonprofit diversify their funding streams, because a nonprofit cannot be solely sustained on grants. That's not possible.
Exactly. And if you notice, a lot of the prominent nonprofits, the ones that are more successful, they invest in real estate. You see what I'm saying? They invest in real estate, so the real estate bring in a lot of their profits, their revenues. So those are just things we need to look at. I love what you're doing. I love the space you're in. You and I are going to talk a lot more about this after this show, because we've got some things that can, help to propel your clients and take them in some other directions as well.
And that's what we need. We need for us to really understand. Listen, the government, they set the rules. Private companies, they're about advancing and making sure that their investors make money. It's the nonprofits that actually do the work in the community. So in order for them to make an impact, money gives you options. Money gives you choices. But if you've got to be able to get the money. People who start nonprofits think that funders are just giving away money.
Right.
It is an investment. They're looking for a return on their investment, and how they determine that is based off your profit and loss statement. They're looking to see how you manage your money. A budget is a financial statement. It lets a funder know what your priorities are. If you don't have salaries, then that lets them know that your priority is not in leadership. If you don't have directors and officers insurance, it lets a board member know that that's not your priority. So creating that infrastructure is huge.
And your funders are looking for ROI whenever they put money into your organization. You see what I mean? So if you're not successful, that's not an ROI, a rate of return on their investment. So that means next time around, they're not going to invest in your organization. Any organization that can bring a rate of return on their investment, then that's what they're interested in. So, folks out there need to know that.
And how do they know if you've created a return on their investment? It happens in the financial statements.
Yes.
Right? Yes. If I've given you $250,000 and you've said, I'm going to increase graduation rate by 10%, and you have to show them how that money was spent.
Yes.
So it's not enough for me to say, guess what? My clients are happy. They need to be able to go back to their board and say, listen, here's their profit loss statement. Here's what they did with this money. It was allocated like they said it was. And that's what they're looking for.
Yes, beautiful. Now, for those of you who are just tuning in to the Business Zone, this is the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. We're on every Friday from 3 to 4. And today we're talking to 3 phenomenal women in the community. This is Women's History Month, and we want to honor and respect and promote these phenomenal women. And our first guest is Miss Amber Nguyen. And she's just phenomenal. You can hear her. She's talking about nonprofits, and she's schooling a lot of folks. She's schooling a lot of folks who are probably nonprofits too. Go ahead, Crystal.
Exactly. So Amber, for let's say a nonprofit that's just starting, maybe been out there for a couple of years, and of course their passion is strong. What are some of the suggestions you have for them as they're out seeking funding and submitting grant applications out there? What would be, especially during this day and age and during COVID, when there's a lot of money flowing, but not necessarily flowing to all nonprofits? What would be some of the advice that you would give to them?
So I'm going to speak from my funder's hat. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of money out there. And I told especially the organizations that were Black-led and in the communities that need them the most marginalized, the money is there. But in order for you to access it, you've got to look the part. You've got to look the part because, to Gilbert's point, there are a lot of people out there who look the part. You can't just go to a funding agency and say, hey, I need this information. Right now, in particular, your website should be stellar, because this is the only way that a funder can look at you. And as a funder, what we do is we vet you. We go to see who's on your board. If it's Mookie Pookie and Cheek in there, then I know that you don't have the leadership that's supposed to be guiding this organization. I'm looking to see what type of measurable goals and objectives do you have. A lot of people say, oh, I serve everybody. Well, I'm not going to fund you because I don't fund everybody. I have a specific geographical area, a specific age group that I'm looking to. So you've got to be specific. But right now, I would say make sure that your website is tight. For your board, we don't need to know how many kids you have and when you met your husband. That's irrelevant. I need to know how your board members' experience is going to help guide the organization.
Exactly.
I need measurable outcomes. Tell me that you've served 2,000 people since you've been in existence. Tell me, what type of impact. Have you, sent 5 people off to college? Like, what tangible results have you done? Because the first thing I'm going to do is Google you like everybody else. And if I don't see that on your website, I'm going to move to the next organization.
Yeah. Measured results. That's what we're talking about. This is amazing. This is amazing. And if you guys have any questions out there, just put it in the chat section. Okay. Go ahead, Crystal.
We don't if anybody had any questions, I don't see any, but that in a couple of years ago, or probably about 5-10 years ago, the organizations really start looking for measures and outcomes. I guess on their side, they had to report back from a philanthropy side on where this money was going, and was this money actually being used for what they were granting it for. So I noticed that with the Recycling Black Dollars is that we really had to horn down in on what our measures were, what were our outcomes, were we really reaching to the community. Alfred has a question. He says, I sit on a board that is over 100 years. It's the Plaza Community Services. Does that help and hinder me when attempting to launch another nonprofit?
The organization is over 100 years old?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not understanding the question. When attempting to launch another nonprofit,
I think what he's trying to say is, if he's launching a nonprofit and he's seeking funding, does that help him to demonstrate that he served on other boards that has been prominent?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it may help them, but again, like you say, if there's no results, no measured results, then it's not going to help, right?
Right. So I think as a board member, if you're saying, okay, I served on the board, that's definitely going to strengthen your ability to demonstrate that you have the expertise and the knowledge. But what
Mm-hmm.
a funder is looking for is what type of impact that you had. So if
Yeah.
you sat on this board with an organization in Plaza Community Service. I don't know what what it was that you were doing, but if you said you sat on the board and under your leadership, you were able to send, 5,000 youth to college, or you were able to reduce domestic violence, then I think that helps to make the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whatever you're doing in the new nonprofit, it needs to align with what you did in the old
Right.
nonprofit. Otherwise, it's not applicable, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's a good question, Alfred, and that's a great answer, Amber. Excellent. Crystal, do you have another question?
So Amber, we're celebrating Women's History Month. What impact do you feel that women executive directors have on our communities in today's world, which would be our pandemic world? And what are some of the successes that they have that they're facilitating?
So, like education, like being in the church, women dominate in the nonprofit sector. We run these organizations. I would say of my clients, 95% of them are women led. And they are, making dollars out of 15 cents, I tell you. And this is the reason why I'm here, is because having been an executive director, I was executive director of Girls Inc. of Los Angeles. I understand what the challenges are. And so my role is to support the founder and the executive director, because they're doing all of this amazing work. And so as women in the community over these nonprofits, they are transforming communities, even if it's just one family out at a time, but more than likely it's communities at a time. And
Yeah.
they're just the most amazing people that you're ever going to find on the face of this universe.
Right. And I'm
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything like that, but based on what I've seen with my mom, women have that natural nurturing ability. And that's probably why you see them perform much better in nonprofits, because they understand, like you say, how to take a 15 cents and make $1 out of it. I've seen my mom do that multiple evenings, man. We have no dinner, and
Right.
she goes in the cupboard and she comes back out with this big
With a
old dinner.
meal. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going, how does she do it?
Not just a meal, a feast.
Yeah.
A feast.
Yeah. How does she do it?
Absolutely. And we see it every day in communities. And I think for me, it's admirable, it's amazing, but at the same time, as women, we get tired. We don't
Yeah.
allow ourselves to get tired. I mean, Crystal was just talking about being on vacation, and it's because she's used to the grind. It's because she's used to making things happen. And it's
Yes.
the same for women in nonprofits. I
Right.
want all of these nonprofits to diversify their funding streams so that they can get paid, and so that
Yes.
they can have the money that they need to really impact their communities, because they
Perfect.
deserve it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
So
I would
Amber,
say
go ahead, Crystal. Go
and
ahead.
and I would say that's the hardest part about running a nonprofit, is that you're always scrambling for the money, and your heart is into making sure that you're providing a service and helping those that you've committed to help, and then sometimes the money is just not there, so you feel that you're having to skimp on that service because you just don't have the resources to do it. So in my opinion, that's probably the hardest part of running a nonprofit, is never having enough money to be able to provide the services.
Agreed. And it's because you don't know what you don't know, right? A lot of our nonprofits start their nonprofits with
Right.
misinformation, right? Started and you'll get a grant not knowing that you have to qualify, you have to have proof, you have to have all of this information. And so you stay in the weeds. And so what I would suggest for the people who are scrounging, trying to keep their nonprofits afloat, who are self-funding their nonprofits, is to really get the information that you need, because most of the time you're doing the work. The work is not the issue. It's just building that infrastructure, looking the part, and knowing exactly what it is that the funder is looking for. Once you have that formula, it's like clockwork, and then you just, and then diversifying your funding streams. Everything can't be funded by a grant, but at the same time, you can't sustain your organization off of fish fries. It's just not going to work.
Right, right.
Just understanding that there are multiple ways to fund a nonprofit, and so that you can, sustain your organization. It's possible. It really is. It's just you don't know what you don't know.
So, Amber, what type of people? What type of people should reach out to you? And also, what is your contact information? Phone, email, that type of thing, so we can put it in the chat so our listeners can follow up.
Sure. Well, my website address is www.amberwin.net, and my email is amber@amberwin.net. So you can contact me there. And the type of people that should contact me are people who are stuck, people who are doing the work but are ready to start getting paid, and people who are ready to do the work, because it's not easy. But if they do what you said, Gilbert, which is to listen to me, you know how you say people don't listen to you? If they listen to me. I had an organization. It was EST, Educational Student Tours. Her board during the pandemic, July, she called me and she said, my board's ready to shut down the organization. We did 2 board developments, and she got a grant for $897 from the Hilton Foundation. She increased her board because the ones that were tired, I said, well, that's fine. Thank them and allow them to rotate off. Get you some new board members. She funds youth who are in the foster care system. So they increase their Tuesday giving. And it's really just about listening and having somebody who's outside and objective help you figure out what the roadmap is to creating diversified funding streams.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead.
And a lot of people come to me because I teach a lot of entrepreneurial workshops and classes, and of course, in our community, the first thing they want to do is start a nonprofit. And I'm not always. Yeah, I'm always like, really, is it, what are you doing, first of all? And is it really a nonprofit? Maybe it should be a for-profit, and you can adjust the pricing so that it fits the clientele. But if you are going to start a nonprofit, I am of the mindset now that it should be a social enterprise. What are your thoughts on that? On social enterprise, where it's a little bit of both, where you have one is supporting the other, like the homeboy bakeries or out of the closet. Those are enterprises.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are.
What are your feelings?
My feelings is that we don't need another new nonprofit. We have enough nonprofits to do just fine. And if you're serious about making a difference in your community, lend your expertise to a nonprofit that could really benefit from it. We don't need another new nonprofit. What it is people's egos, Crystal, and they just want to have a business. And if you want to have a business, start a for-profit business, because I guarantee you, first of all, it's not easy to start a business, but it's easier to start a for-profit than it is a nonprofit, because now, at least with the for-profit, there's a product or something that you can do. With a nonprofit, you've got to create all of this history, before you qualify.
And getting involved in nonprofits, first you got to understand, what population are you going to serve? What is your focus? What is your mission? Why are you in this? And who else is doing it? Because if somebody else is doing it, there's no way a funder is going to fund it, right? They're going to say, go to those guys.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that, because in a for-profit, they make you do a business plan. So you get to see who your competitors are. They just, they'll just give you a 501c3 if you have the person who knows how to file it. And so you may start an organization in a community that's saturated. If one more person comes to me and say, I want to do a tutoring program, we have like a gazillion. So now you're in a pot where there's so many people getting funded, and now you won't be able to get funded because these people have been doing it and they have track records. So doing your research is extremely important.
And I think this, we can make the transition, Crystal, into our next guest on the program. Miss Dominique Reese, who does financials. So, do you want to go ahead and introduce her? And Amber, we love what we're hearing from you. I'm hoping you can stay on the show, and because there might be other questions popping up from our listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Not a problem. You are my
we definitely, and we'd love to have you.
Go ahead, Crystal. Crystal is on delay.
We definitely want to have you back and to talk to you, because we have so many people that need your services, because nonprofits are probably a untapped information. Well, no one really focuses on nonprofits, right? All the focus is on for-profits in our business world, and so nonprofits are always out there struggling. So thank you so much for what you're doing, but don't go, because I'd like to know if you're doing any workshops or resources that we can afford our nonprofits over to. But in the meantime, let's bring over Dr. Reese before she has to leave, and then I think we can get on a nice conversation. So here she is. Welcome, Dr. Reese.
Hey,
you
Dr.
should be
Reese.
Popping in. Thank you for being on. Oh, what happened to her? She got kicked back out. What happened? Okay? There we go.
Oh, there she is. Hey, Dr. Reese, welcome to the Business Zone.
Greetings. Thank you for having me.
Crystal, go ahead, Crystal.
Okay. So this is an award-winning financial coach and consultant and trainer. Dominique Reese is the owner and president of Reese Financial Services, a boutique financial services and education firm that specializes in serving leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs who are growing their net worth and serving in their divine purpose, but have money problems to solve. So she's an expert in building solid financial foundations and creating and growing assets. So we want to welcome you, and she has a very lengthy bio there, and I'm sure she'll give us her website, and you guys can go over there and read it in its entirety. She's been doing this for about 15 years. She looks like she's 5, but and then she's a prodigy. But we want to thank you. Thank you. She's a prodigy. And thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this area. And it kind of fits so well with what Amber was speaking of, especially in the nonprofit world, because they have assets and they never know the value of that asset or how to grow those assets to really carry on their programs.
Yes, well, thank you again for having me. I'm a financial consultant and strategist. I was led into this role after wearing many hats in the financial services industry, but I started my career as a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch back in 2006, 2007. And by the time I started to manage money, again, working with millionaire clients, managed about $4 million in assets, and was doing that, financial advisor, helping the wealthy stay wealthy. I got laid off in 2009 and started my own business then in New York City, which was a money management and counseling business. So I was basically a financial coach at the time and didn't realize it, but I was helping the clients who I felt like I couldn't help at Merrill Lynch. So it was literally, the people I could not work with, the people who didn't have $250,000 in investable assets, the clients who the market was just completely overlooking, which was basically mass America. If you didn't have that, you did have plenty of debt, maybe low to moderate income, little to no savings, and a desire to achieve financial goals. So my mind went to, well, who's helping them? Who's helping the everyday hardworking American achieve their financial goals? And that's where I saw the opportunity in the marketplace for me to come in with my brand and with my knowledge to help those people who are being overlooked and underserved in our industry. Fast forward, I basically got an opportunity to work at a financial startup in the Bay Area, and that brought me back to California, and was basically doing that same work in the passion of helping those who were being overlooked and underserved, but we were providing financial advisory services, which basically meant a financial advisor with a financial plan at a monthly price point, which was pretty new for the industry. And it began to work, but then I got laid off again. And so that's pretty common in our industry. So it wasn't a thing. I stayed afloat. I had savings, so I wasn't concerned. But then I found out a week later that I was pregnant and I was going to be a mom. So that I didn't expect to be laid off and pregnant. So that was interesting. But I believe everything in divine order. And so God allowed me to simply, take that time to transition into motherhood. I didn't really work as much. I took on private clients for a few programs and had my son, stayed at home with him, and then hit rock bottom, literally hit financial rock bottom, hit emotional rock bottom. My son's father and I weren't working out, and it was that rock bottom moment. And I got a job. I got a job being a financial coach, serving veterans in LA County. And I did that in 2016. That was a contract that ended around 2019. And once it ended, I basically went full-time me and have been back into entrepreneurship ever since August of 2019. So just in and out, it's a journey. I've been an entrepreneur, I've worked, I've been in and out of that space. But right now I'm full-time me, running my firm, and things have been going so well.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's an amazing story right there. We're talking about Women's History Month. This should have been Women's History Year, because there's so many things that go on throughout the year with women. And, what you just described right there is an amazing feat, and you overcame it. You see what I mean? So more kudos to you. And you haven't even talked about some of the work that you've done. I mean, you work with a lot of agencies around here, a lot of nonprofits. We were talking about nonprofits earlier. And while we were talking, I was thinking about you. I'm saying, wow, this is good information for her to hear, because you're working with some of these guys, and, they're probably not even on the same page as we are right now. So this is great. This is great. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I see great. I see great synergy with Amber and Dr. Reese, because
definitely.
their populations are similar.
Yeah.
And I think also, Dr. Reese, I'm seeing that you founded the Black Women's Investment Club. And I know that there are a lot of women that would love to be able to invest their monies, especially in the nonprofit world and the for-profit world. And we have no clue how to go about doing that. It's just completely like we never learned it in school, right? So it is a foreign object for us, and we figure even putting our money there, and it's like you said, you hit rock bottom. So we need to be able to get to our money if we're gonna hit rock bottom. Can you kind of talk about that? Because I think as a woman, building my own personal asset base and portfolio is really important to me, and important to a number of the women that I serve as well.
Absolutely. And that's what I tend to find with the women clients that I attract. We care about a lot of things, but at the top of our list, it's ourselves, it's our family, and then it's our community. And so it is important for us to be financial leaders. As Amber was talking, I'm just sitting here, resonating with a lot of what she's saying, because I work with nonprofit clients. They are my client, and then I serve the clients and the participants in their programs. And a lot of times I find there are a lot of great women in those roles as well. Black women, women of color in particular, not just Black women, but women of color are running nonprofits. Mm-hmm. And, financial leadership is the focus of my firm. I lead with education, but it's not just for, people in their personal. What I believe too is that mindset plus behavior equals outcome. So if you're leading in any way, you're leading at the nonprofit, you're an executive director, or you're a program director or a program manager, you're a leader in that space. I always question, well, if your finances aren't in order, if your personal finances aren't in order, you're more than likely going to be running that organization's finances the way you run your personal finances. So financial leadership starts at home, and that can be your household, that could be in the community, or that could be your business. And as leaders, financial leadership becomes very important because as women, we're breadwinners, we're leading in the communities, we're leading in business. So it becomes almost our responsibility to ensure that we're leading in our finances properly, meaning your behaviors are aligned with the goals that you have. It's not enough to say you budget in your head. A budget is a written document. You know, Amber touched on this. It outlines what's coming in and what's going out. It's telling a story. I don't need to know what you've got going on. I could look at your numbers and tell you what you've got going on because the numbers tell a story and they never lie. And a lot of times we're afraid to look at the numbers because we know the story. We know what we've been doing, but that behavior doesn't align with the outcomes that we're seeking. And it takes some time and effort to become financially responsible. It's not just going to happen. You can't just save your way to wealth. You know, saving is a behavior, but you got to have the numbers and the behavior. So I tend to find that that's where my business and our focus becomes very unique. I'm not here to change your numbers. I'm here to change your behavior. If I could change your behavior, then your numbers will change.
Now, for those of you who are listening to the
Awesome.
show, this is really excellent. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. Crystal and I, we do the show every week, and we do it because of the love that we have for small businesses. And it doesn't matter, your ethnicity, whatever. We're doing it for small businesses, right? So when we tell you that this show is the number one small business show on a podcast in Southern California. We're serious about this because most of you guys have not heard this type of information on many of the other podcasts because this is real stuff you're getting right here. Now, Dr. Reese, I want to say this. When I first met with her and I spoke to her, right? The first thing that grabbed me about her is her branding. Look at her. Look at what she's wearing. She's wearing her business name, her logo on her shirt, right? Which is amazing. This is what we want to do. We want to brand ourselves every time, everything we do. And she's got videos on YouTube. And when you look at all of those videos, you see the branding. So it's just amazing. So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Reese, for what you're doing for small businesses and people of color. Go
Thank
ahead, Crystal.
And I see that she's the author of a book, Master My Money: the 16 Steps to Solve Your Money Problems and Create a Foundation for Financial Freedom. Is that book accessible on your website and as well as Amazon?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So in those 16 steps, you can give us some highlights, just enough to get us to go buy the book. What is the message that you're relaying in your book?
That's a great question. Thank you. It is basically my strategies, my solutions, and the tools that I use with my one-on-one clients. And when I would meet with clients who could not afford to work with me and or who were not ready to work with me, I thought the book was a great way to still reach people, give them the strategies and the solutions and the tools that I'm using with the paid client, but now they can access that information at a more affordable price point. And again, if they're not ready to take on one-on-one work, they can still get the ideas of the solutions and the curriculum that I use. So it tends to cover mindset. Again, I believe everything starts in the mind. So we talk about a little bit of your relationship with money, the mindsets that you have, and then we transition into the foundation, the core areas of your financial foundation, which I believe are 8 areas. That's your mindset, your budget, your savings, your debt, your credit, your income, and your protection. And then you use a financial document, that financial action plan or your financial plan, to guide all of the strategies that you've built for those areas. So the book covers each of those areas in details, and then it provides the tools. It's meant to be read like a workbook. It's an easy read, and you can totally do the work as you're reading. That's how it's designed that way. So it's an engaging book. You can write in it, write your responses. And if you go chapter by chapter, it's going to take you from an assessment phase to see where you currently stand. And then it's going to introduce the tools for each of those areas so that you can assess where you are, set goals for where you want to be, and then figure out the strategy on how to get there.
Excellent. Do you have any
Awesome. So
workshops
we're going
coming
to
up?
help you push that.
Do you have any workshops coming up, Dr. Reese?
Great question. So I do have some classes coming up. We're going to start the Breakthrough Budgeting series. So people can check out the website to get updated on when that's going to launch. April is officially National Financial Literacy Month. So it will probably launch mid-April, but you can check the website for the exact date. We're finishing up just building it out. But there's going to be the Breakthrough Budgeting Masterclass series. And the difference here is that I don't do workshops that are educational based. For the most part, you can go Google anything under the sun about money. This stuff is not unique. So I'm not out here selling education and that I'm going to teach you something you can't already Google. I'm here selling the work, the behavior. So these workshops are workshops. You're going to come and learn about budgeting and the different tools and creating your budget, but you're going to use that time in the workshop to create your budget, to learn the strategy. So when you leave the workshop, the budget is already created. If anything, you're going to learn how to maintain it and how to manage it in between your months. So I like to give that understanding. It's not just another place to come and hear me talk about what a budget is and how to use it. I'm going to help you create the budget and understand which type of budget you should be using so that you're successful with budgeting, and then you'll leave that workshop. So just check out www.reesefinancialservices.com and get on the email list so that I can be in touch with you about when we're going to launch, but that's going to be in mid-April.
You know, while you're speaking, Dr. Reese.
So I definitely see some.
Go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead, Crystal.
No, I was just saying, I just see some major synergy between Amber and Dr. Reese because they're both speaking the same conversation.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what co-host, you're reading my mind.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because a lot of what you just spoke about, I'm hearing Amber's voice in the back of my head saying, you guys need to do this. So by you guys working together with these nonprofits, oh man, can you imagine that team? That's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah. There's also, we have a financial leadership series that I'm going to be doing for nonprofit leaders, again, to help nonprofit leaders reimagine how they're thinking about their organization's finances through a personal lens, because there's bias, you know, so you're bringing your bias to how you manage the money for that organization. And until you're clear about that, you won't necessarily understand that that's happening. So that is a financial leadership series that nonprofit leaders will be able to take advantage of as well.
I need
agree.
that information.
I agree, man. I agree. This is amazing. Crystal, do you have another question for the good doctor?
Actually, I'm gonna ask her because I know she's got a time commitment in a few minutes. But so Amber, it's Women's History Month, and I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Amber. How do you feel doing this? Well, actually, throughout the last year and today, how women are impacting our communities and the world, actually, in the space that are their expertise.
It's refreshing. You know, I'm not surprised. Again, we come from hardworking women in our family. So it's really just now the world is able to see us in many different platforms, and we're given more visibility. Given some of the things that have been happening, there's a lot of attention on us. Whether the intention is there or not, the work has always been there. So, you know, for me personally, I'm finding it's been very gratifying to spend this particular Women's History Month thinking about the women in my family. You know, my great grandmother who purchased our home way back in the 30s and 40s, and what that meant at that time, and the generational wealth involved with what she did for us to be able to now live in that home. So that's how I've been reflective about it. You know, there's so much greatness happening in the world with women and women of color right now. But again, I'm not surprised. Like, this is how we do and what we operate. This is the results we can get. We can change the world. We've been doing it, but now we just have bigger platforms and more visibility for those who weren't believers to actually see it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, this is great.
Awesome,
We put your contact
And-
information in the chat. Go ahead, Crystal. Go ahead, Crystal.
Yes, we put your information in the chat, and we're so we're thrilled that you were a guest today, and we know you have to run, but thank you so much. And we're going to this video or this show is actually streaming live as we speak, and so it will be housed over at our Facebook page and as well on YouTube. So we'll tag you in and then send the link over to you. And if you guys, both of you, will go and when you get that, to subscribe to our channel. And if you have any workshops or work information coming up, please send it over to us, and I will make sure that it gets out to the Business Zone Network, as well as I also host another show called the Community Business Briefing that we broadcast live every Thursday at 11 o'clock, and I'll make sure it gets out to that marketplace as well. And I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. So both of you have very valuable information that our communities need to hear about and need to know that you exist out there and that you have services that can really help them grow. We got to close the wealth gap, and that's only going to happen by amazing women like yourselves helping to guide and to instruct and to nurture us to the places that we need to be in order to change the existing world that we're living in. So thank you both so much. Amber, if you can still be here, because we're going to bring on Robin.
Crystal, I want to before you bring on our next guest, I want to make a request here. I would love to see Amber and Dr. Reese team up, and then bring them back on the show in about 3 months and see what they've done, who they've worked with. Yes, who they've worked with. You see what I'm saying? And that to me would be some level of success. That was born here on the Business Zone. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you, Amber. So I already have your info down. You'll be hearing from me today, sis.
Okay, then we'll come back and we'll show you all of the amazing work.
Yes,
right.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So, Dr. Reese, know you got to go. That's great.
Yes,
we'll talk
Thank
again.
You, Crystal and Gilbert. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Not a problem. We're here to help guide and protect.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reese.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
And welcome to you too, and welcome to the Business Zone family. And we will be connecting on for other opportunities in the future.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
All righty.
All right. So go ahead,
You're
Crystal.
welcome.
Bring on our next guest, Crystal.
So our next guest, I mean, we're just killing it over here with all these amazing women. It's just
so honored. I feel so honored.
So we are bringing on another outstanding woman, Miss Robin S. Thorne, who has outstanding achievements in her profession since receiving her Bachelor of Science degree in chemical engineering from Drexel University. She began her career as an associate foam manufacturing engineer, and she has a very lengthy a bio here with lots and lots of X's and O's information. But I know you also have started your own business. I think it's called Demo Chicks. Is that her business, Gilbert Demo Chicks.
Yeah, yeah,
So we want to
yeah.
welcome Robin to the Business Zone, and and thank you for being a guest. So tell us a little bit more about you. We got your bio, but I'd like to hear it live from the human being herself.
Well, all right. Well, thank you for this opportunity. So
Oh,
Gilbert told me I had to be wired. I'm used to just talking to my computer, so hopefully you can hear me because I am wired, Gilbert.
I can hear
yes, we
you
can.
very well.
Yeah, I
And
take direction very well.
And welcome to the Business Zone, Miss Robin Thorne. This lady is so not only is she one of my biggest cheerleader, I'm her biggest cheerleader. So I just want you to tell us about you, who you are, and what you've achieved over the years.
Okay, so it's so funny because my assistant is telling me whether my volume's good. She's over here with her phone.
I love it. I love it.
So she said I'm good. All
Yes, you're
right,
good.
so where do we begin? So I am a native of Philadelphia, and I am a person who is passionate about empowering women, right? I'm a person who am passionate about STEM, engineering, technology, because I know the difference it can make in a person's life. Like you said, you have my bio, there's a lot of information there, and those are my accomplishments. But who I am is what I do, the difference that I'm making in the community, the difference that I'm making in the lives of the girls that we serve through our nonprofit. So I do have a for-profit business. My for-profit business is CTI Environmental. And I like to say what we do is we help to keep people out of jail. And people say, well, what are you, a bond bailsman? Well, no. So we do regulatory compliance from safety and environmental perspective. So if you're a manager and a supervisor and you have an employee that gets injured or even loses their life, you can be held responsible if you don't have the proper programs in place. So companies are focused on making their widgets, and we help them with compliance. So what does Cal OSHA say you have to do, or OSHA on the federal, from a federal perspective? So last year, there were 5,000 workplace fatalities. And people don't think about that. And not to mention a large percentage of people who suffer workplace injuries, right? And that usually gets people's attention because there's probably no one in your family who's been injured on the job, but there are a large number of people who get injured every day. So that's what we help companies do. We help companies to make sure their employees are safe. And then all the fines that are paid out to the EPA from companies polluting the environment. So we help companies to make sure that their funds, their monies are paid in salaries and benefits and not in fines to the EPA and those agencies. So that's what CTI does. That's what we were born to do. But, I'm very ambitious. My mother raised me and she taught me to just not limit myself. So in 2012, I got a contractor's license. So I'm a general engineering contractor. I have an A license. It has a hazard endorsement. So what does that mean? That means that we can get rid of lead and asbestos in the building. We were just awarded, Gilbert, you would be so proud of me. I couldn't talk about it until I got the letter last night.
All right.
But our very first IDIQ with
the federal government.
I should know the name, right?
The federal government.
So we were just awarded a 5-year demolition contract at Camp Pendleton.
Oh man, this is amazing!
Oh my God.
This is amazing! Congrats!
So demolition, so we do demolition as well. So, but it's funny because I'm a consultant. That's what I've been doing for the past 20 years, environmental safety consultant. So the contracting piece is new, but very profitable.
Right.
So I launched Demo Chicks in 2019 after demolishing a federal prison. That was a $4 million project. There were about 120 plus structures, single story, 2-story buildings, and tanks. I usually have a video that I show with us peeling the tank, because people think about demolition, they think about implosion, they think about a wrecking ball. And I haven't used either. We use excavators and those types of equipment. So after launching that, after demolishing that prison, I realized, wow, this is a curriculum and it's an industry people don't talk about. They talk about construction, they talk about STEM, but for something to go up, we have to clear the land, right? Because you're not getting the land. So demolition is an industry in itself. And Demotix was a cool name. But we're not limited to just demolition or construction. We are introducing girls to trades, plus engineering as well. But we know that everyone's not going to go and pursue a 4-year degree or a master's or beyond. So there's opportunities in the trades, electrician, carpentry, welding, and all those opportunities. So that was a really long answer to who I am, but that's what's going on.
Wow, my lady, you are just phenomenal. And I see all those awards behind you. So kudos to you. I think I met you a couple of years ago at an Edison event. We were sitting, no, I was at the CAM. I think we were honoring Skip Cooper, I think, but you were a guest of Edison, and I think we were sitting at the same table.
Probably, yeah. Edison is one of our clients.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think I remember meeting you, and I was in. I was very impressed at that point in time, and I am really impressed with what you're doing, because you're not in a typical business or industry that women are activated in or working in. So kudos to you, my sister.
Well, thank you.
It's non-traditional. She's in a non-traditional industry because usually there are men, dominating that type of field. And that's one of the reasons why I thought she would have been an excellent person to be on this show today as a guest, because when she went in the industry many years ago, no one really cared to lend her a hand. No one cared to show her how things are done, because you know how it is in this industry. You got a group of usual suspects. They get together and then they help their friends. But with her, they never did that. They kind of, shun her, put her in a corner, and she fought through all of that, fought through it. And now look at her. Look at her. The awardee of an IDIQ contract from the federal government.
Wow, that's just phenomenal. Amazing. We have to give you that. So as a woman, Robin, and in a pretty male-dominated space or industry, what have been some of the challenges that you faced being in this and being in the world that you're in?
Well, I would say the first challenge was with myself, just knowing that I belonged in this space. Because when I started my company, I actually had a partner, and it was an afterthought. It was, hey, you should start this company. There's a lot of opportunity for women-owned businesses. And I was like, okay, but I was working at the time. So I was like, okay, let's do it. But when we parted ways in 2012, he held the contractor's license initially. So when we parted ways, I started looking for someone who could cover my contractor's license. I didn't see myself as a general contractor. Yes, I'm a chemical engineer, but a general contractor,
Yeah.
And so I had to, I was struggling, I was stuck. And so I listened to a Yolanda Adams song. I had to see myself at the finish line.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to sing it, but I hope you know the song. So I drew on a piece of paper and put on my wall a finish line and me as a stick figure. Because I recognized that I didn't see myself as a general contractor. I mean, do I look like a general contractor? Maybe now I do, but at that time I didn't. And so I went and I took the license. I took the exam myself, so I became the general contractor when before I was looking for one. So it's just really owning what I had accomplished and my achievements, right? So it's what's between the two ears, right? Getting out of my own way, I think, was the first step. And once I did that, I knew I earned my seat,
at the table.
And I was always proud to be at the table because I wear my hair natural. So I wear twists and a throat, and here I am sitting at that table. And they're wondering, why is she here? No, I'm not anyone's wife, and that's okay to be someone's wife. And especially when I have my team with me who may be white males, but she's the one. It's her company.
Yeah.
And she's the engineer. So that settles it all, right?
Right.
No matter what I know or don't know about the project, I've earned my seat at the table. And then I have a team to support me. So early on, it was about making yourself look better than what you were or bigger than what you were. And that's what we do, right? How many people do you have on your team? Me?
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable saying that at first, right?
Yeah.
But if you're talking about giving a small business a chance, let's work together. It's me,
exactly.
But I can pull a team together.
Yeah.
So, I've just grown so much from that point. Now I can say 7. And for some, that's still small, but I'm like 7.
Yeah.
It used to be me. Now it's 7 of us and growing. So
that's a great accomplishment. And like my co-host, Crystal Mitchell, always say, if you're not sitting at the table, then you're on the menu. And you don't want to be on the menu.
No, you never want to be on the menu. You want to be at the table so you hear how they talk. Because I can guarantee you they're talking about you. So you want to hear what they're saying.
I love it.
You got to be at the table. Well, that's amazing, and that you've been growing, and like you said, sometime I think as women, and I'm sure Amber. And as well as Dr. Reese, sometimes we as women are our worst critics, right? We are the ones that hold ourselves back. We have the capability, and I always say this because women, the way we juggle things, we've watched our parents, our mom and our grandmom juggle and to make ends meet, as Robin said, as Amber said, taking 15 cents and making full feast and meals and dressing and clothing children and helping nurture the children and nurture the husband and take care of the house, take care of the pets, take care of friends. And so sometimes we do all that and we balance all that and we don't lose our minds and we don't leave the house screaming and with our hair all over our head. We take care of that. But then when we get into the business world, it's like our mind says, oh, maybe I can't do this, right? But you've been doing all of this stuff over here. And then you go over here to the business world and it's the exact same transition, right? But sometimes, like I said, we're our own worst enemies as to what we are capable of doing and getting out our own self way, because that happens a lot. And I'm sure all 3 of us as women have felt that we're inadequate, but then we go home and we're like slinging the bacon.
It's like I'm not good enough, and what if I fail? What are they gonna say? No, we don't do that anymore, and that's why we have so many phenomenal women. And like I say, you 2 ladies right now on the show, I take my hat off to both of you, because you're phenomenal. And moving forward, we're going to make sure we keep this conglomerate going, because this is the only way we can strengthen our own, because no one is doing it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. We got the resources, so let's do it, man. Let's do it. This is amazing.
So, Robin, for young women that are venturing into college and trying to decide where they want to go, what is your advice for them coming into the industry that you're in? And what was the, because obviously you went into chemical engineering. That's not normally at the top of a young woman's wish list. But definitely needed. So, and I'm sure you're amazing a peer model for our young women. So what are some of the advice that you would give them in the field that you're in?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we started Demo Chicks as well, because we know it's important. We believe in see it, be it, right? Yeah. That helps. That's very powerful. And we've created with Demo Chicks, we have an educational component and a mentoring component. The educational component is for K-12. And for the past, since the pandemic started, we've been having virtual workshops where we're actually doing experiments online with the girls. Yesterday was electrical engineering. And the mentoring component are the girls who are entering into college or just entering to the workforce. Because you figure you have all this support, all this love, you know, from being nurtured with all these STEM programs in high school, and then you're out, right? And so you still need the support. And so what I would encourage people to do is to find the programs. There are enough programs out there, right? Where you can get nurtured and supported, because you're going to need it, right? Because I know my experience. I went to Drexel University, great university, very tough university. Not a lot of my friends are supporting it because they beat us down and abused us. And right? Yeah. So, I mean, I had a professor who said to me, there was a problem. I guess he thought I should have been able to solve, and I couldn't solve it. And he told me maybe I should consider changing my major. And I was like, wow, really? Wow. And so you'll hear those kind of comments, right?
Yeah.
I started at a community college, and it was a lot more nurturing. So I was a single parent when I started college. So community college, a lot more nurturing. 4-year university, it was brutal. So I would say definitely seek out programs. Don't be too proud to ask for help, need the support. Connect with demo chicks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're about. And even if it's not one of our majors, we'll find someone to support you. And I think it's also important to take care of yourself, like self-care, and build yourself up, you know, being around positive people, because you're going to need it. You know, you need to be strong and stand tall. So it's important that you're in a nurturing environment, like the people you choose to become friends with. If you don't have a supportive family, find one. You know, you are responsible for your well-being and for your future. So there's no time to be a victim, because there's plenty of people here that will support them.
So if there are young girls out there trying to seek out mentors, and they're like you to be a mentor, and you also, Amber, how do they reach out to both of you in order to say, hey, I would like to be mentored by you or someone just like you? How would they go about that, both of you?
Well, demo chicks, they would probably go on IG, right? That's where a lot of people communicate. So it's demo chicks, DEMOCHICKS. If they reach out, there's someone who manages that, and they'll get back to me or with the organization. Call my office, 562-608-8401. If I'm not available, we have other people. Like, I feel like I have the responsibility to respond and to reach back.
Could you say the phone number again?
562-608
Uh-huh.
8401.
Okay, perfect.
And if somebody says Robin said call, as long as it's not a salesperson, but Robin said to call this number, and then the information will get to me.
And Amber, how about you, Amber?
Right. So I'm when I grow up, I'm going to be like Robin. I am a philanthropreneur and a solopreneur. So if people want to reach out to me, they can visit my email. I have a Calendly scheduler, and so we can schedule some time to sit down and see if there's a good fit, what they're looking for in terms of, what aspect of a nonprofit. Do they want to be an executive director? Do they want to go into the grant writing section? I mean, I have plenty of colleagues that I think that I could link them up with, or if they just want to ask questions about what it is that I do in the consulting side or whatever. So www.amberwin.net, or if they want to reach out and call, my number is 424-255-8611.
8611. So I would like to ask a question. I do a business camp every summer in the month of July for young men and women. And it's a virtual camp, and I'm teaching them how to be entrepreneurs. And we're always looking for amazing peer coaches that can just come in or speak to the kids or speakers or whatever and speak to these young people. Their ages 14 to 18, and we're teaching them how to create their own businesses. And we have two programs. We have Biz Camp, where they're coming in and we're creating a brand new idea from nothing. And then we have another program called Biz Institute. And these young people, and we're going to have 30 in each class, and we're teaching the ones in Biz Camp. They already have their business, and we're expanding on their business. And so, would love to be able to have you guys come out and speak to the young people. And the program is ongoing year long, and our whole goal is just to open up our children to another world, and to know that they are worthy to be whoever they want to be. And these are their individuals and leaders in their community who are already making history in those spaces. So would either one of you be interested in participating? And it's only about an hour at best. You'll be honored. Okay, well, I'll make sure I'll send it. We actually handpicked these kids. They are absolutely phenomenal. And I've been doing this program for the last 10 years with the Los Angeles Urban League, and my partner's been doing it for the last 17 years with them. And we probably have serviced over, and this is for Robin, and I mean, this is for Amber. We probably have serviced over 2,000 kids since the beginning of the program.
That's right.
And we're very proud.
Tangible outcome. Tangible
outcomes. And we had some kids last summer. Oh my God. They have a summer, we do a cell day. And so usually that cell day, we're usually live, and we took the program last year. We just felt it was so important to continue this annual program that we do. And we took it virtual, and they just showed up and showed out. So one of the kids created a COVID kit, because this is in the middle of COVID. They created a COVID kit with masks and the whole bit. They sold, or they were able to acquire, because some of it was donations. Over $5,000 was the biggest price tag we had any child had accomplished in a summer program. And then they had the news media come out, the fire department came out, and then another young lady made about $1,500 with her cakes. And so they've been doing this ongoing, and it came up, and they were so excited. And so those are the highest nets that we've accomplished at Biz Camp over the summer, and they just killed it. They had the whole month of sale, and they took it away. So it's definitely an awesome experience that I do, and one of the things that I most that I feel most honored to do is to give back to these young people and to create new entrepreneurs to come into our world. And hopefully they go to college with a much more determined purpose in their lives. So that's what that's my summer thing that I do. And then this year we actually took it and expanded it to a year-long program.
Nice. And also what Crystal does too, after they go through that program and they get a first, second, and third place winner, we bring them on the business zone, and we have them talk about their business and give them some free promotion, so everybody in the world gets to know what they're doing. So this is amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, they create a business plan. They work through their numbers. They present. So they'll be presenting in May 1st, actually. And so that's one of the purposes, is for them to be able to raise funds for their businesses. So what we do is teach them, and then they actually go out and pitch in other competitions in order to raise monies for their startup businesses. So
right.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really pretty cool. So, well,
Right.
thank you guys. So I'll make sure you guys get the contact information. So I'm going to ask Robin the same question I asked the other two ladies. During this month of Women's History Month, what are your thoughts and some of the impacts that have taken place with women over the past year?
Well, I first want to compliment Amber for what she shared, because having started a nonprofit, like just being a Black woman and a chemical engineer, over the years, I've always spoken and given back and been passionate about that. But starting the nonprofit, totally different situation than just being passionate and giving back.
Mm-hmm.
But our stuff is in order to the
Yeah.
extent that we know, right? But it's yeah. So I was glad to say that I'm pretty proud of what we've done. We're not one of those in our board members. We can work. We have a great board, and our website is okay. You could check it out. I mean, it needs some work. It's solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're on the right track. But I really appreciate everything that you shared.
Yes.
So this Black History Month and Women's History Month has been amazing for me. We just gotten some press that's just been phenomenal. Like the Long Beach Business Journal wrote an article, and I guess that's one of the most credible publications in Long Beach, because I've gotten calls from people, just random people, not calls, but like on social media, or people that I've been trying to talk to, and they've seen that and they've reaching out. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like Black is the new green, and just all this phenomenal stuff happening. I mean, it's the greatness we already knew that was there, but with the social unrest, and then, that being brought to people's attention, and everybody wants to get a piece of us, it's really exciting. And I think as women, I mean, it's just so phenomenal, because we typically hear about the same folks historically, right? Black History Month is, I mean, the people we respect and admire, but there's so many more, right? There are people that are making history now. I mean, there are younger people who are making history. I mean, on LinkedIn, you see all these PhDs or EDDs, and it's like, wow, that's amazing, right? All the greatness that's out there. I mean, you have Amber, right, who's doing what she's doing in the nonprofit, but we don't know these stories. Like there are so many stories out there, and I'm just really happy that they're coming to light, right? And it's empowering us. I mean, I was raised, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, so I've always been Black and proud.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to see other people embracing it, right? But I think that we really have to be intentional about continuing to say it loud that we're Black and we're proud, because it's being diluted with other, just the whole diversity spin and minority, it's diluted. So we just have to be intentional about holding our place, right? And we are responsible for that. We can't depend on anyone else. So I would just encourage people to continue to take a stand, right? Take responsibility and operate in integrity. But I'm just really happy that it's our time, and we have the responsibility to take advantage of it, because if we don't, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, guess what's going to be happening with our kids and our grandkids? So this is our time to make difference, and we need to do it.
Right. That is so perfect, Robin. Go ahead, Crystal.
I say that I was interviewed this morning for a project that Carmen Jones is doing with the Black Women's Wellness Group, and she would ask me what were some of the COVID highlights, or I call them silver linings, that I've encountered over this year. And I want to say that I have met some of the most amazing people that probably pre-COVID I wouldn't have met, because we've been able to do this online. And so I may have been in the room with them, but I wouldn't have gotten to know them and had conversations with them as we have, because so then this is our form of communication and connection now is online. So I will say that if for the last year and a half, I have been introduced and I have met, and some of them were in my circles, and I just didn't have a chance to have a conversation with them. And I have met some of the most phenomenal men and women, but especially women in this last year. And so for me, that's a COVID moment, for a silver lining for me, because even though, Robin, you and I sat at the same table at a dinner, I never got to have a real conversation with you and got to know who you are. Amber, someone reached out to me, and Elliot reached out to me and said, you have to have her on the show. And I'm so happy that I have. And when I was promoting the show, people were calling and said, "Oh, you're having Amber Nguyen on the show." I was like, "Who am I having on the show?" People are reaching out to me. Who I have, because again, this is an opportunity that we're a captive audience to this box right here and this internet, and we should really be thankful on one hand for COVID, because it's been able to bring you guys to us, and then we got to meet us, and I hope that we're able to do some work together and definitely support each other as Black people, and then definitely as me as a Black woman, because I am just in awe of what you both are doing, and that you both have a commitment to make sure that our community is better than it was in 2019, even during a pandemic. So thank you both, ladies, for what you're doing. And I know that I know how I work, and I know what it takes away from our families and our friends, being able to share you with the world. And so I am honored to know both of you, and I am honored that that you are doing what you're doing.
Well, Crystal, I always say that in order to do business, you got to make sure that your clients fall in love with you. You got to do the things you need to do to make them fall in love with you. Well, you already know I'm in love with you. I'm in love with Robin. Now I'm falling in love with Amber. Now I'm falling in love with Amber. I love what she brings to the table. And I can't wait to work with her to compile what she does with what I have to offer small business to take it on another level, because the compliance piece is a big part of what's been missing from the nonprofit space, and plus a lot of what other things that you bring to the table. So I can't wait to work with you, Amber. I can't.
Listen, let me tell you something. Even though I've brought in grants for $3.2 million, I am a wordsmither. When it comes to numbers,
Yeah.
I stay in my lane. Let me tell you, I'm so excited.
Yes. I get you. Well, Crystal is a numbers person, man. She's a ninja. She's a digital numbers ninja. So together we're gonna make this thing happen. And Robin, that new contract that you got, if you need some contract compliance support, you let me know, because that's my space. That's what I do. So if you need help with that, so you can look good in front of those guys, let's do it.
Okay.
Well,
I'm glad I was able to share that.
And we are so proud of you, Robin.
Yes.
And the email came last night, because I got the call. They give you the call
celebratory.
And they say, unofficially, and they're like, when are they going to send that letter? So last night.
So here's the deal, Robin. This show is going to be this show is going to be broadcast and put on YouTube, right? So I want you to take this moment right now to address the entire audience, the world, and state that I, Robin, from Demo Chicks, just got awarded this IDIQ contract. It's a federal contract. And I want you to let them know why you deserve that contract as opposed to your competitors. Go for it.
Okay, he's going to put me to the test. Why do I deserve that? Because I have been patient for the last 3 years. No, because I have worked, right? So we went through the process. We got certified. And this isn't even an 8A contract. It's a woman-owned small business contract. So what did we do? We prepared. We completed the paperwork to get certified. We did our capabilities presentation. Our first meeting with Camp Pendleton was in June of 2018. They called us down, we went down. They called us back, we went back. You know, we fussed, but we did it. And so we prepared, we planned, and we showed up. And we stayed compliant. We filed our taxes every year. Our certification was in place. And, you know, when they awarded the contract, they needed to see our bank information. So we've had a banking relationship for 12 years. So we were able to get that letter from the bank and provide it and so on and so forth. So we were prepared, you know, so we were, and plus our price was right. We were very competitive.
You stayed ready. If you don't stay ready, then you don't need to get ready, and you stayed ready. That's what I'm talking about.
And it's work, and you have to be ready. So it took me 7 years. It was 7 years of being in business before I was able to pay myself became a W-2 employee. Yeah, and that's the part that people don't understand.
No,
they want. And I wouldn't recommend that to anyone, but that was a long time. You know, but I just knew have you seen that that diagram where the person's digging for gold and they're underground and you can see that it's right there, and you know what I'm talking about? I didn't carry that around with me. And that's what I would always think about. Just when I was like, oh my, I was like, no, it's right there. I just can't. I stop now. So
beautiful. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being on this show. And Crystal, do you have any final words? Besides being a little delayed? We can't hear you. Your lips are moving, but we can't hear you. Go ahead, Crystal. Okay, so we can hear our co-host, our fabulous co-host, and we want to thank both of our guests for being on the show today. Miss Amber Nguyen, she is a non-profit compliance consultant and guru that is so amazing and so needed in this space. You just don't know how much I'm happy to meet you, because there is this lady right now that has been saying she's a nonprofit specialist, and I've been trying to reach out to her for a year now, and she's been avoiding me. So I don't know if it's because she really isn't that good. And you know, some people talk a good game, but when you call them to perform, okay. So she's been staying away. But now that you're here, I don't need to chase her down anymore. So together we're gonna make this space so much more easy and comfortable for the nonprofits out there. So thank you so much, Amber. Thank you for having me. Definitely. And Robin, star performer. You are a star performer. A woman in a man's world who's showing them how to do things, how to get things done. I love it. And Crystal, can you hear us now? My co-host, my wonderful co-host, can you hear it? but we still can't hear you. So we're going to tune out right now. We're going to, usually this show is from 3 to 4. So now we've extended it because we had 3 phenomenal women on the show. So we had to have them tell their stories so you guys can hear them. We're the Business Zone, and we're on every Friday. This is the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. You can reach us on YouTube or on Facebook. We would recommend that you go to YouTube and subscribe. So when you go to YouTube, just type The Business Zone. You don't have to put Crystal and Gilbert, just put The Business Zone, and you'll see all of our shows. Click on one of the shows and you'll see that subscribe button. You click on that subscribe button and we will send you any materials that we have that is covered on this show or any other show. So please, thank you guys for supporting us. In July of this year will be 5 years that we're on this program, Crystal and I, doing this, for working with small business. Can you hear us, Crystal? Crystal, can you hear us? So 5 years, we're going to celebrate that with some great gifts to small businesses. We're not going to tell you what it is yet. Crystal and I were still, working on that for you guys. So we just want to let you guys know. So thanks again to our special guest. Thanks to Dr. Dominique Reese for being on the program as well. And if you guys have any parting words, do you want to say it? Any encouragement to the small businesses out there? Anyone? Any one of you?
Me?
Well, yeah. Okay.
I'd like to say that I agree with what Robin said. Sometimes our fear is what keeps us back, but you have all that it takes. You just got to look up and look for the resources, because we're here and we're really wanting to support you so that you can be successful. Because when you're successful, then the community's successful.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. Robin, any parting words?
Oh, ditto what Amber said. And I'll just share how I was able to succeed in my journey is by putting one foot in front of the other on a consistent basis.
Yes.
You know, sometimes you can take a leap, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's just, steady and consistent, and you too will win.
Exactly. And we have one of our great listeners here, Miss Latanza Price. She's an event coordinator, and she said, great show. And she loves the information that both you ladies are disseminating. And Latanza is a part of the GLAC BEP program and the cohort. And I'm the coach, the business coach over there for GLAC. And Miss Robin Thorne is one of the alumnus from that program. She went through that program as well. So she's traveled many paths. And, Latanza knows her as well, right? Because you presented about 2 months ago, right? And Latanza was there. Latanza is responsible for doing the graduation program this year. So that's her, Miss Latanza Price. So thank you for listening, Latanza. I appreciate it. So my co-host is mute today because of technology reasons. So I'm going to speak on her behalf. Thank you very much, Crystal. And we'll see you guys next week. Welcome to tuning into the Business Zone. Thank you all.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next week. Bye.
Bye.